Welcome to the Commercial Know-How podcast, where mortgage brokers learn how to successfully launch, manage and grow a commercial finance business. I'm your host, Belinda Gibson. Join me as I draw on more than 25 years of property finance expertise to show you how to diversify beyond residential and build a growing business for all seasons. Don't forget to hit subscribe and visit commercialknowhow.com.au to download my free ebook to help you get started in commercial finance. Now, sit back and enjoy the episode.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Thursday morning Broker Essentials Foundation and Revolution groups. Today is our hot seat session. I can't tell you how excited I am to have two of my favourite people with us today. We've got Alycia and Belinda. I'll tell you a little bit more about them in a couple of seconds. As always, we want to make sure that we're bringing you the best people in the industry, people that obviously I look up to as far as not just entrepreneurs in our industry, but people that are doing not just the right thing, but the right thing for their clients, the right thing for their staff, and the right thing for the community that we serve. And Belinda and Alycia are two exemplary powerful business people in our industry, people that I've known for quite some time now, probably for nearly, several years now, maybe up to 10 years. And both of them run really amazing brokerages. So we had Damien Roylance on recently and Josh Bartlett together. We were talking about very large-scale corporatized brokerages. That's one avenue that people can take. What we've got here today are two amazing businesses that really fall into what we would call the boutique style. So where they've got either some loan writers in their businesses along with themselves as the principals. They both have a number of staff, depending whether that can be onshore and offshore. They've both had amazing journeys with what they do, both not their personal lives and their passions, but obviously in the clients that they serve, which is really quite unique. So today, really what I wanted to tap into was their expertise around how they've grown their businesses, the areas in which they specialise, which are not necessarily super unique, but certainly different. These are areas that both of them have some amazing backgrounds in and do some amazing things for their clients. But I also wanted to talk to them today a little bit about their journey with some of their staff. I know that both, and I don't want to single out some of their people, but I know Belinda's got a Kylie, and now she's got a couple more Kylies in her business. Alicia's got a Jenny in her business. Jenny's one of my favourite people on earth, just this amazing superstar, no filter, tells it like it is, gets stuff done. We all need a Jenny in our lives. So welcome Alycia from Stoneturn and Belinda from TMFG. It's a delight to have you both. Good morning.
Thank you for having us on.
All right, so guys, we're going to get a little bit straight into it. We'll do a little bit of to and fro. This is said, it's a very relaxed session. We've got some amazing brokers in the room today that are desperate to learn more about what you do and how you've done your things. So maybe Alicia's up in Sydney. Alycia, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background? Tell us a little bit about Stoneturn, what the structure of the business is and who you serve.
Okay, thanks, Jason. So I've been broking for 18 years now. Originally, I started randomly in corporate tax, but really didn't like it very much and fell into mortgage broking through a friend who had started working in a brokerage and then started his own business when he was in his early 20s. So I started working with him thinking I'll just give it a go for a year, see what happens. And that was, pretty much 18 years ago. He then sold the business a few years later, and then I went and started my own business, and that was basically the journey I had to becoming self-employed and having my own company. We basically, our niche is expats. We do a lot of expats, so foreign income, Aussies living overseas, and we also do a lot of investors, kind of complex scenarios, like working with accountants and financial planners, people with company trusts or, property portfolios, things that are a little bit more out of the box and require, a little bit more advice from the client's perspective and kind of time poor professionals and people who just want to hand it off to someone else to work it all out.
So, Alycia, and the structure of your business, you've got some onshore staff and some offshore staff?
Correct. So I've got Jenny, who's a fully qualified broker. She does all of the credit and then oversees the application through to settlement as well. We've got Vanessa, who is our customer service manager. She's onshore as well. She basically prepares the lodgement and oversees it through to settlement too. And then we've got an offshore team member who's amazing. She's in the Philippines, and she does all the sup docs, data entry, pricing, vals, all the kind of paperwork. And then I have someone casual just doing my compliance and all the compliance bits and pieces, who's got a legal background, and that's all they do. And then I just use a VA who's also based in Brisbane, and she helps me with everything that's non-broker related. So basically, I've got 2 little kids, and so I pretty much work part-time. I'm pretty much just Monday to Thursday in the office, normally 9:30 to 4 at a squeeze. So a lot of people that I can delegate and outsource all my stuff to, and everything that I need help with in my personal life as well.
Yeah. So, Alycia, that's amazing. And we're going to come back to a few things in there. But I wanted to also, Belinda, your background, tell us how you got into the industry, a slightly different journey for you coming through the banking world.
Yes, so my background's a little bit different. So I sort of grew up in Westpac, if you like, and had a commercial career with them. So I started in regional Victoria and ended up in Mount Waverley, and had a portfolio of clients. And it was an acquisition portfolio, so I had a lot of connections with brokers. We'd do a lot of property development and a lot of really complex cash flow lending. And I had a transaction that was really tricky, and the bank was being a little bit picky and choosy around what securities they wanted, and we could maybe take this, but we don't want that, and went backwards and forwards for a long time. And I just happened to say to the broker, I've just about had enough of this place, because another bank would do this transaction, and it started from there. So I've been broking now for 10 years. I've had my own business for 8, but I've never looked back. I went into the business not really knowing much about broking or aggregators or anything like that. I had to learn all of that. But I went in knowing that, I had really good customer service skills. I had world-class training from the bank, and listening is a key thing, and treating all people from all walks of life exactly how I would like to be treated, feel valued, and have somebody understand and listening to what their requirements are. And it just grew from there. I started pretty much on my own with one support person who's now a broker with their own business. And in my business now, we've got 2 offices, one in regional Victoria, one in Melbourne. And I have a team of 4 women. We are an all-girl team. So I have another broker, Kylie, customer service person, Kate, a lending admin officer, Emily, a admin officer, Wendy, and we also use Xsource to do all of our compliance and all of our application or apply online deal building, if you like. And they lodge our deals, and then we pick them up and run with them through to settlement. But, we've had year on growth. We've got, over 200 Google reviews. But I'm love seeing my team develop and grow individually as well. So it's very rewarding.
Now, for both of you, because I know your journey is obviously really, really well. We've worked together for years. I want to touch back on staff in a second, because I know both your journeys, you've had some real challenges over the years, and it hasn't been always smooth sailing. But you also have had people in your businesses who I rate as some of the best support people, business colleagues in the industry, purely through not just finding the right people at the right time, but also how you've developed amazing cultures within your business, places that people actually want to be. So before we get to staff, though, I want to talk a little bit about your niching. Now, you sound like, again, the story for most people is we either landed in this industry accidentally or something pissed us off. We thought we can do this better. That seems to be the theme. So, Alycia, with your the expat side of things, I'm always really curious about how people land up with these sort of interesting niches. How did you get into the expat side of things?
Yeah, that was, again, just purely by accident. So very close friends of mine moved to Singapore maybe 12, 13 years ago. And I was over visiting them, and just within that community, the expat community there, they all know each other, they all socialise. And, you know, just talking to some of them, some had asked about, you know, borrowing and things like that, and just in the conversations, you know, realised that they had difficulty just getting access to information about the lending. And then when I started researching it, I was like, oh wow, it's like going down a rabbit hole of policy, you know, and trying to get all the information. And then so it was just something I kind of fell into because of them, and then, you know, went to some functions over there, and then randomly met some financial advisors, and so built those kind of professional relationships. And then it's just something that slowly has built over time, because once you know, with clients, they'll be like, oh, do you know an accountant that does international tax? And then so it was literally something that, funnily enough, my friends who live there have moved back, and now I'm co-sharing an office space with you know, one of them. It's something that I really enjoy because it is quite technical and it's very interesting. And it's just interesting talking to people living all over the world, I think. But yeah, it was just a complete random fluke.
And Alycia, would it be fair to say that you don't overly advertise quite heavily for that space? Like, your website's not all about expats. You know, this is not something that it really is a heavily word of mouth type niche.
Definitely, but also, I mean, we do also look after a lot of investors and, you know, people here. So I don't want to give the impression that we only look after expats. But then also the flip side is I haven't really had time to do any marketing, given the hours that I would love to do so much more than what I actually do, but I'm just limited in time. So yes, it's all unfortunately word of mouth at the moment, but yeah, I'd love to be able to do more of that stuff.
So, and that wasn't a drive-by for Alycia saying she needs to do something with her website, people. What he's saying here is that when you do an amazing job, and this isn't something that Alicia's been doing for 6 and 12 months, this has been sort of, you know, nearly a solid decade here. When you're doing an amazing job, we know that our industry still does an extreme amount of volume via word of mouth. When you're finding those particular niches, especially like that in communities that have communities within communities, that's a fantastic example of how you can make these things work by putting yourself out there. And Alycia, you've gone to Singapore a few times to do some seminars or some that sort of work.
Oh, lots. Before children, I was definitely had the ability to jump on a cheap scoot flight that arrived at 1 a.m. and, you know, and then do back-to-back meetings and quickly fly home and do seminars, meet with financial planners, and just kind of get in the face of as many people as possible, even going and seeing financial planners that I've never done business with or I'd never met before. You know, I just kind of stalk and harass anyone and try and get in front of anyone because I don't know who that will lead to eventually. You know, I've had people that I met years ago and didn't give me any business for years, and then suddenly they've popped up with, oh, you know, I've got a client. And so I just took a shotgun approach of, try and meet everyone and talk to everyone and just see what comes from it.
And that's the adage of in our industry is that it's not that people are necessarily the smartest brokers or the best brokers. The best brokers in our markets speak to more people, do more activities, put themselves out there, give themselves every opportunity to get in front of the clients that they want to serve. So, Belinda, maybe tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, commercial, female broker in the commercial market. Belinda is someone that I refer clients to on the commercial market to know that you've got strong female brokers. You're actually quite a rarity because it's, you know, we know that the RM sort of, you know, corporate banking is sort of very male dominated. How do you go in the commercial market? Why are you so passionate about it? Is there particular types of clients that you like to serve?
Oh, I really love it, but it's really what you grow up with and what you learn in your background. But there's really no type of transaction I haven't done. I really love petrol station construction. I've done a lot of those, which is a little bit different, I know, but we've done, self-managed super fund commercial. We've had issues with car parks where we've had to get rulings on single acquirable assets. We've just settled a really large transaction, which was a car dealership, someone buying the commercial premises where, we thought the soil was contaminated, but after some testing, it actually came back clean, which was a real win for our customers. And then you do, smaller transactions that are also commercial, that might be an office or, somebody buying the warehouse their business operates out of. And so you get to talk to, their accountants and their solicitors along those journeys. We've funded an organic dairy farm, which was very different because they would also make their own cheeses and they'd sell milk and they'd make some other things. I think you pronounce it kefir. So, they had all these added value items that, that came into their cash flow. And, they tried to go to banks directly and just randomly she happened to find me. And I had an agri background with Westpac with some of the bankers that I'd worked with in the past and was like, right, I know exactly the manager and what bank we're going to take this transaction to. But it's all about talking to people about their businesses. One of the largest clients I had at Westpac followed me when I became a broker, and they were importing Japanese food, like things like rice and salmon, and they all had cash flow lending, trade finance and debtor finance, and they're some of the most rewarding things because you get to see businesses grow. And you learn to know the business financials inside and out, what their debtor book looks like. But it's very, very rewarding. So, but all different types of businesses. So you get to learn so much about them.
Well, who doesn't love a petrol station, right? So now, what I love about both those stories is when I look at both of you and as individuals and as business owners and as professionals within our industry, the word that comes to mind for me is absolute experts. So I love that you are professionals. I love that our industry does what it does, but what I'm really looking for is people that live and breathe the thing that they do. They have a real passion for that area, and that certainly is both of yourselves. Now, with your journeys, I do want to touch a little bit on staff because you've had some really interesting journeys. Now, Belinda, I remember getting a call from you a few years ago, one week when we had a couple of your staff members at the time all disappear in the same week, and that was pretty much most of your staff at that time.
Yep.
And both of you've got a sort of a never give up sort of attitude. So maybe can you tell us a little bit about your staffing journey and some of the challenges that you've had and how you've overcome them?
Yep.
So
do you want me
go first because I think yours is, I know you've both got amazing ones, but I remember that phone call very clearly.
I know. I was at a point where I felt like I couldn't grow, and so I had engaged Jason to help me grow my business, change processes, and we literally turned everything upside down and we started all over again, which did involve exiting one full-time staff member that I had that was causing a bit of grief, and we ended up employing two people, and we thought, well, okay, we'll put both of them on. One was fantastic, one wasn't. And anyway, one of them made a critical mistake when I wasn't in the office one day. And so we had a bit of a conversation the next day. And anyway, one of them decided to quit on the spot, which was the one I wanted to keep. And the other one, I thought, well, maybe it's time to let you go because I've just faced much more of that. So I rang Jason, and we had quite a heavy workload on at the time. And I'm like, right, so what do I do? And so we started, the first step was to engage some outsourced companies and prioritising my workflow, like what was critical, what was urgent, what could wait, and then communicating with the clients. And that was how actually I got onto Xsource, because I had interviewed some other outsourced companies and they just didn't feel like the right fit. I didn't want to wait 6 weeks to be onboarded by them. I didn't want to train staff. I just wanted somebody who could come in and hit the ground running, who understood Podium. That was the system that we had at the time. And I thought, right, I've just got to sit down and go through their process and send this first transaction off. The next morning, there's all my work all done, completed. It was very accurate. And I thought, wow, this is great. So, you work through the problems and then you've got to work out, well, who do I know in my network that I can contact who would want to work for me? And so I, contacted some bankers, asked them if they knew anybody. And then one of my old colleagues said, well, what about Kylie? And I said, I'd love to work with her again. So I rang her up and she said, that is not why I thought you were calling me, but coincidentally, I quit my job last week. So let's have a chat. And it's all worked out for the best. I just feel like it was meant to be. Coincidentally or not coincidentally, all of my staff are all ex-Westpac now. It's just been a word of mouth. Hey, I'm looking for a new career. I want to do this. And it's just been fantastic. We've got a really good team now. Touch wood, but, it's nearly 3 years now. And it's just been an absolute game changer, having the right staff in the right roles and all wanting to grow, all having fabulous customer service experience and knowledge as well.
And Belinda, one of the things I remember, and funny enough, I had this conversation with another broker, in fact, someone that many of you would know in this room today, where we go through that self-doubt of, is it me? What have I done? Why aren't they staying? Like it's this, I've gone through it many, many, many times in my career going, what's going on here? Why is this happening? And sometimes we have to go through, they talk about the belly of the whale. We have to fight our way out. We have to have that hero's journey moment where, okay, reset, reprioritize, and then these people come into our lives at the right time. So that's sort of, that journey of it's going to be okay, but we've got to keep battling away. I mean, Belinda's done an amazing job to create, again, a culture where it becomes a destination for people. That word of mouth doesn't just happen because people talk. It happens because there's something to talk about. So, Alycia, and you've had a bit of the same sort of journey. I mean, again, I met Jenny probably 8 or 9 years ago, who, as I said, I absolutely adore, one of my favourite people in the world. But you've also had a really interesting journey. You've had some offshore. You've tried different offshore companies. You've had obviously your onshore. Tell us about your staffing journey.
Yeah. So basically, when I started for my friend, he always had admin team members working with all the brokers. So from the very beginning, it was a part-time person until your volume kind of went up. So from the beginning, it was a very good lesson for me that you should always have a team member to start with, because I know it can be quite hard to do that stretch, when you're first starting out. And I always saw the value of that from the beginning. So I was always knew that I had to have team members to help me. But definitely I've been through that whole process. And I started out with, when I had my own business, I had one full-time person, in the office with me. And then it was really when I was starting to have my first child that my volumes were really starting to grow and I needed to get more team members on. And I had them in the office and I trialled the odd offshore team member, but they hadn't really done very well. And then I really had to bite the bullet because I was going on maternity leave and I needed someone to run the business. And that's when I went and found Jenny, as a loan writer and to oversee the whole process. And I was petrified, to be completely honest, of, stretching myself financially. I'm about to go on maternity leave. I'm leaving my business in the hands of someone I don't know. I've worked so hard to get to this point. My clients, so I was very protective of them. And, it was just, but literally because I was having a baby, I didn't have a choice. So I had to hire Jenny, and it was the best thing I ever did. Because then obviously we had to build more processes and systems and things like that, which she's, as you know, Jason, is extremely systems driven. So she's helped me out a lot there. But then we needed to have more team members to assist Jenny, because we had coincidentally, our biggest year at that point to date, whilst I was, out of the office with the child. And I'd have to come in and bring the baby in sometimes, or be on the phone breastfeeding, trying to do all of that juggle. But so then we started looking at offshore teams. We went to Nepalese teams with HLE. That didn't quite work with our culture. We went through various Filipino outsourced companies. And look, I went through tons of people, and look, I would say that I'm pretty tough in terms of my expectations. Jenny's pretty tough in terms of her expectations, and we had a lot of conversations of, is it us? Are we too hard? Are we too difficult? Are expectations too high? Is it our processes? Do we need to work on those? Is it them? We've been through that over years and years and years, and rewritten our processes and rewritten them again, and we, to this day, we still review our processes on a daily basis to improve them, to improve them. I mean, the other day, Jenny and I were going through one of our processes, and we were like, oh my God, this is how we used to do it 8 years ago. And now we're back to what we did 8 years ago, because we figured out that that's actually a better process. But it's been the same with the team members, just cycling through. And it's, sometimes those people aren't ready, or they're not in the right role, or it's culture fit, or, and I, to be honest, for many years was just HR, hate it, hate managing people. Why can't people just manage themselves? I manage myself, we're all grown-ups, just come in, do your work and go home. and apparently people don't work like that.
No.
So,
well, I remember when we first obviously started connecting, and I use Alycia's as a bit of a case study especially for maternity leave, that maternity leave, just like having a baby, doesn't just happen overnight. These things you need to lead into from a time perspective. At that time, Alycia was the single principal in the business and single loan writer. Jenny wasn't accredited at that stage. And then obviously working out how you find this balance, surrounding yourself with people that are on that journey. Alicia's lucky enough to still, is your dad still floating around, Alycia?
My dad came over this morning at 8 so he could take the kids to school and daycare, so I could get here early to make sure. Yes.
I
So
remember
sometimes
you in Sydney and your dad had the baby as well.
I used to go every day and be like, Dad, take the baby, take the toddler. I need to do some emails. Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying, people. It takes a village. It's not just about in this SME market that we work in, and we have this idea that it's all nice, smooth sailing, and it's, as I said, we talk about, it's tennis on Friday and it's golf on Wednesdays, and it's all this $1 million earnings and stuff. But we're a 24/7 industry, for right or wrong, and having that right support structure is absolutely critical. And what I love again about both your journeys, finding those critical people that, not just that you can get good exchange from a work perspective, but really amazing people that fit into how you best work. That take huge amounts of responsibilities off your shoulders. So, can you tell me a little bit about what the future looks like for both of your businesses? I mean, again, you've both now got sort of loan writers in the business. Is this so that you're starting to look at how do you start getting off the tools? Are you starting to look at, do you want to grow further, or are you happy doing what you're doing at the moment? Maybe, Belinda, tell us a little bit about what the next few years looks like.
Well, I'm happy doing what I'm doing at the moment. I don't have any plans to get off the tools at the moment, because I love talking to people and helping them achieve their goals. But I also want to see my staff develop and grow. So Kylie's just starting her journey as a broker, and she's building up her pipeline, and she's doing a great job, which is just fabulous. And she runs her own hours, and so we've had to transition for me, having 4 support people to having 3 now.
Is Kylie's com-based or salary-based?
No, she's com-based. And we had a discussion around whether we do salary based, comms based, or a little bit of both. And I just let her pick what was going to work best for her. So, it's more important for me that she can grow and not have any restrictions. So, and then Kate's just finished her diploma of mortgage broking last year, but that's not so that she becomes a broker straight away, because she's got a different background to what Kylie has. And so she's now doing that client services manager role and, learning things about finance and policy. And Emily as well has ideals that she would like to do, consumer residential home loans down the track as well. But, she's been moved from sort of client services in the bank into a lending admin role. So she's learning all that groundwork. So I find that more rewarding, seeing everybody grow and learn, working through our processes together as a team, what works, what doesn't, what can we change, what's best practice, how can we make this more seamless, because we want one-touch files. We don't want rework. And that's one of the good things about using Xsource, because it's another set of eyes looking at your file before it gets lodged. And that works really well for us. But, I work out of the regional office 1 day a week. I'm in Melbourne 4 days a week. I would like to work less hours. I don't think, working sort of 10 and 12-hour days, 5 days a week is sustainable, but I like to have my weekends to myself as well. I've just started a podcast teaching brokers about how to learn commercial lending, because, I go to all these PD days and it's like diversify, talk to your BDMs, but that doesn't really help a broker learn how to write commercial. So I thought I'd do a few seasons about teaching that foundation work, just to get some confidence in the industry about how. But, I don't have aspirations to write, an X dollar sign each year. I'm just happy making sure that I'm able to support all of my staff and we look after all of our clients. And, we don't want to lose people because they are not getting serviced. We want to stay in touch with our clients and keep developing those relationships, because they're our best referral source, the database that we've got.
And for both of you, and we won't talk about too much, we were talking about awards and stuff at the start today, but both of you have exceptionally strong customer service exposure to your client groups, so you're leaders in that field, but we might come back to that. But Alycia, tell us a little about, you've got, Jenny's now sort of on the tools, or she's got how much is she writing versus you writing? Are you looking to expand your writers?
Look, she still assists me with the loan writing, just with my clients, essentially. She still has her own clients that all come in randomly, but she doesn't chase, these are from when she was previously broking, but she doesn't chase any of that. So it's really 99%, my clients and loan writing for me, but she will do all the credit for them. So essentially I just have a conversation, she'll do all the credit assessment, we'll talk about that together and loan structure, and then she'll take it over from there. But basically our goal is to upskill the team. So we've got Vanessa as well, so we're upskilling her into some of the credit assessment stuff as well at the moment. I'd like to get another offshore team member in the Philippines. The one we've got is amazing, so we'd like a second July, if we can just duplicate her. That's kind of the goal, because I am very kind of goal driven and aiming to increase volumes and grow the business. And maybe longer term, maybe if we had another loan writer in the business in the office, that would be great. But or another a third person in the Philippines. But I definitely would like to do more of the marketing and things like that myself, and not be kind of involved in the credit side of things. I'm kind of more interested in the business, doing marketing and things.
So both of you are in that sort of really, they're right in the middle of those careers where we're not looking necessarily to get right off the tools at the moment. You've got lots more to give back to the businesses, your clients, and those that you work with, etc. But can you tell us a little bit about both of you have done partnerships really, really well over the years in the sense of the types of people that you engage with and work with, and when I say partnerships, I mean accountants and introducers and the like. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how you've approached partnerships and what's worked and what maybe hasn't worked over the years? Belinda, with the commercial, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, a lot of the time you're working closely with an accountant or their solicitor because they're setting up a special purpose vehicle to buy the commercial property in. There's a lot of accounting data that's required around BAS and tax portals and financials and income tax returns or foundation balance sheets. And so you do find that you do talk to the same accountant over and over. And then it's just a matter of, if you don't ask, you don't get. So, you need to say, hey, we've worked on a couple of files together. Would you like to meet and have a coffee? Or, how about, I come and introduce my team to your team and we'll have a lunch, and be prepared to pay for that. Like if you do the invitation, you're footing the bill, but it's a better way to get to know people. And that's worked really well. Like, every now and again you need to review who those referral partnerships are and whether they're still working or not working. But, there was one transaction that sticks with me recently where a client had a really urgent settlement and she didn't know where her file was with the broker that she was working with. They'd already moved into the property. They didn't have their finance approved. It had been extended a number of times, and she was a business owner with a company structure. One of her close friends had told her to speak to me. Her conveyancer had told her to speak to me. And in the end, her accountant said, I don't know what broker you are using, but you need to be speaking to this girl. And she rang me and said, my friend, my conveyancer, and my accountant have all said I need to be speaking to you. This is the situation. We are stressed. And the deal was easy for us because we understand complex, we understand financials, and we understood the type of business that she had, which was pretty much an NDIS home care scenario. But she was more niche, where she would buy properties for her clients to live in, and then the carers would come to them. And so she had brought another property for them to move into as a family, and the broker that she was using couldn't get the deal through the bank. And then while we were working on her file, these documents miraculously turned up, and the structure was all cross-collateralized and the pricing wasn't great. And I think it was more of let's just get you an approval rather than what's the best solution. But she came to us on the Monday, and on the Friday we settled with Macquarie.
Wow.
So it was all individually structured, but we had a couple of late nights just getting all the data in, getting her compliance and bid notes done, pricing, and then talking with our BDM. This is the transaction. It's really urgent because, and it's like, we can do that, we can meet that, we can escalate here, but you also know what banks are ready to move fast, who's got low service levels as well, and where it fits. And that was a real success story. And from that one transaction, this accounting firm has now been referring more and more transactions to us, where we already had a client base that had them. I knew a few of the staff, but it's created more transactions just from helping that one client and so quickly and getting on board.
Is that a paid relationship, Belinda?
No, I don't have any paid relationships. We have in the past, but from an admin point of view, it is a pain in the neck. So I've moved away from that. I've had another solicitor ask me recently about doing that, and I've just said no.
Yeah, good.
It doesn't work well. I think the relationships that work best where you've both got the client's interest at heart. It's all about helping. Like, the solicitor's role is to help a client. so is the accountant, so is ours, so is the financial planners, and I think they're all complement each other. But what we've done in the past was given, those referral sources that we've got deals from during the year, Christmas hamper. We've actually moved away from that to having, a lunch throughout the year so that you've got that face-to-face time with them. I find that more rewarding than, just sending out a hamper, wondering if they like it, got it, whatever. But, yeah, it's more rewarding to sit down with them face-to-face. Just, spend that time together. And that way you're more front of mind, you're memorable to them. Oh, what about Belinda? This might fit with her. So,
yeah, nice. And Alycia, yours is a little bit different again. You've done some shared office stuff with some people in professional services before. You've got, obviously overseas interests in relation to associations and the like. I mean, how have you managed and juggled and penetrated your relationship partners?
Look, it's that same kind of try everything approach. I think sometimes as women in the industry, trying to deal with accountants and financial planners, sometimes you can be a little bit at a disadvantage because I can't talk rugby or, go to golf days or things like that. So, build a personal connection, it really comes down to finding someone that you gel with and, might have common interests with or just do an amazing job for, and they understand that you actually know the technical side and the complexity and understand financials and structures and things like that. And then they're like, oh, okay, you're not just a salesperson, you actually have all the technical knowledge as well. So I think it's just, lunches or going out to them or offering seminars, putting them on your newsletter. Some don't want to catch up for lunch. I always then will send nice wine or hampers at Christmas. It's kind of like if you're dating someone, you've got to show them that you care, You've got to show them that I'm doing everything possible to show that I appreciate everything that you do. And different personalities appreciate different things. Others just want the deal done and their client looked after. Others like, having the little gifts or taking out for lunch. So it's really just putting yourself out there. And, when I've dealt with clients and there's been a financial advisor involved, I might, try and, if I speak to them later at the end of the call, I'll be like, oh, and by the way, if you've got any other clients, we do X, Y, and Z, and then follow up with an email. I'd love, an opportunity to come and have coffee with you. And you might never hear from them again, but you've got to put your ego aside and just put yourself out there and just see what happens, because that's when all the great stuff happens. I mean, I remember meeting you at awards nights. I used to tag along to awards nights when I was not even in the running for awards. And I'd come along as a +1 to someone else. And it was the same thing as like, I had no place being there. I didn't know anyone there, but I was like, oh, awards nights. There's going to be top brokers there. So I want to know what they all do. And I would sit at the table and next to you or Mark or Jeremy Fisher and be like, so tell me about your processes. What do you use? Can I come and see you after the awards? And I remember, coming to Melbourne and taking you out for lunch and being like, so how do you guys do
everything?
And
I love it.
Just get out there, put your ego aside, and do everything possible to show them A, that you care, and B, that you're good at what you do and you know what you're talking about.
So for both of your businesses now, writing sort of 70, 80, 90, $100 million plus a year, sort of year on year now, your businesses have obviously, are really blooming in that sense of they're nice and sticky, so we've got great retention. But customer service, both of you are very well known in the industry from a client service perspective, excellence in that field. What have you learnt about customer experience over the last 10 years? Maybe Belinda, what have you learnt about delivering it, being able to deliver it consistently, and what are maybe some of the things that you can share with the group today about what you've learnt?
Oh, I think, I've learnt so much along the way. Like, keeping the client informed at different stages is probably a huge one. Let them know where their applications is. Your application's been lodged today. We're expecting to hear back from the lender on Friday. We'll be in touch with you then and getting in touch with them then. It doesn't necessarily have to be you as the broker, but it does need to be someone from your team. So we have these handover points. So, once they've got their compliance out, Kate will normally send out a letter to say, hey, I'm Kate. I work with Belinda. Please find your compliance documents attached, and we kind of step them through there. So they've got all these different touch points and they know who everyone is in the office throughout that journey. But that's the most important thing. So you might have 30 transactions on your desk, but for your client, they are your only client. They don't care that you're busy with other stuff, or you've got a settlement falling over or a finance clause due and you're trying to get an extension. They only care about theirs. Mm-hmm. And it does, you do learn this along the way, but to them, that client needs to feel like your only client. It doesn't matter if it's a $100,000 deal or a $2 million deal, it's still just as important, regardless of the dollar value. It's still so very important to that person. So keeping them informed and having really good processes in place, like, a game changer for us was setting up Trello and just having, those files at every stage and monitoring where they're all at and having due dates for next touch points and processes in place. So they are probably the key things that come to mind, but there will be points in that journey where something's not working, and then you need to go and refine that until you find the best practice. And like Alycia said, like picking the brains of other brokers, what do they do well? Because everyone's got little niches in their own business that they do really well that might help someone else along their journey.
Yeah, no, that's great. And Alycia, you're the same. I mean, and we were talking before you came on air this morning about the Sydney market and it's how crazy it is. Where everyone's in that sort of affluent space, especially in which you operate, how important is really nailing that customer service for a heavily referral-based business like yours? What have you learned about customer experience and delivery?
Yeah, look, definitely the systems and processes are really critical, and we spent years building those. And then we went through a phase where we probably relied on them a little bit too much, like where volumes kind of exploded. I'm very limited with my part-time work hours, and then we were struggling to find more team members, and then got to train them up and things like that. So we're a bit stretched and weren't giving clients the love that they needed. And then I kind of learned from that process of, you can have amazing processes, but people still need the human touch, and they need a little hug and just, to be made to, feel good. I spoke to a client yesterday, and actually his long-term client, he's doing an upgrade buy sell. He's a very smart lawyer, so, I know he's across all the numbers. And I randomly had to call him yesterday just to double check something. And he was like, oh, God, thank you so much for the call. I've been freaking out about, the numbers. Like, he miscalculated and thought he had to come up with a couple $100 extra grand. I was like, oh, no, it's all fine. Everything's all done. He was like, thank you so much. And I was like, oh, that's right. Even, people who we know are across it still need a little love and care. And one thing that I spend a lot of time on now is the emotional intelligence of reading the person. So reading the person, do they want to see lots of detail from me, or do they want a short summary? How do they want me to communicate? Is it email, or do they want a phone call? And that's really exhausting, to be honest, and takes a lot of time and effort. But when you get into the rhythm of it, clients love it when they feel heard, they feel understood, they feel that you know them and that you genuinely care about delivering the experience to them in a way that's important to them. And also what Belinda said about, that communication. So our rule is everyone gets communicated with twice a week. I don't care if there's no update. It's just a check-in. Hey, I'm thinking about you is effectively what you're saying. Hey, I care. You're important. I see you. Just letting you know nothing's happened, and what's happening now. Why is it happening? So what's the bank actually doing, and what's happening next, and the time frames with, so that people feel like they have a little bit of control, because people think it hits the banks, and the banks are kind of doing nothing. And it's like, oh no, there's 5 different teams that do X, Y, Z. So I think kind of explaining that makes makes people feel a bit more in control of a situation they, aren't in control of.
So now you mentioned, Belinda, you mentioned a little bit about technology there, or one of the apps you use with Trello. Now I know neither of you are massive. Are you? I don't want to say you're not massively tech savvy, but you're both. So Belinda, you're LMG. Alycia, you're with Connective. Are either of you doing anything interesting in the tech space? Is there anything that you're using to help support your business?
Oh, look, I use everything. Look, I use AI. I love playing with AI. Quickly is my favourite. I love Quickly. That's just been a game changer for me. But all the usual stuff, Zoom and Teams, Trello, Adobe, but they're all things that have had a profound impact on my business. Like if you think back, when you started, you've got these manual processes with Podium. We used to write our own newsletters and send them out on MailChimp. So we've now got ActivePipe for that. Like if we had a complex file, we'd have like 5 servicing worksheets open on the screen and you'd be duplicating the same numbers. So Quickly does all of that. We used to print all our compliance and then you'd get it to the client to either email or take it to them face-to-face to sign. DocuSign's all there now. I did a flyer one day, write me a flyer on the important things about insurance. And 2 seconds later, AI's done it all. It's like, oh, this is really good. Now I'll just make it sound like me. So they're all things that you need to embrace, like going to a paperless offer. It's like I haven't used my printer all week. So there are all these things that have saved us time, made our life great, enabled us to get out and grow our businesses. Like before that technology came along, we used to send clients a paper fact find and then data entry, and then you'd be like, why can't I grow? Like here I am stuck putting in a name and an address and a date of birth. No one does that anymore.
Hey, Belinda, you mentioned obviously we all know Quickly, and obviously Angus and the guys are doing an amazing job there. But with commercial, how do you use what system do you use? Is Quickly supporting you at all with commercial, or is it just the resi stuff?
Oh, you can actually use it to do some really quick calculations because you can put all the self-employed data in there, so it will give you a good understanding of capacity to repay. But then there's other technology that's available to support commercial. So there's things like Cedo Plus, which will, you can put your client's data in, but then it will do the company searches for you. It will do like a property profile report, and then it also does some screening on like the client to make sure there's nothing negative about your client in the market. So those are sort of time-saving functions. It's a good software program. There's other ones that have come out like Clee, which will help you write your submission. And it presents it all really beautifully. It does a lot of the servicing for you. So you plug in all the financials and it presents beautifully in a submission document. And then there's another one that's coming out. I think it's called Performance Partners. But there is tech coming through from commercial brokers that are recognising, commercial's all very manual. How about we implement tech to help it to be more automated and more time-saving for commercial brokers? Because when you write the deal and you present it to the bank, they go and enter it into their own systems manually. So it's not like AOL. So it is a bit clunkier and, valuations take longer than, they're 14 to 21 days. It's not go out and do an AVM. So, there are some differences there, but I think with time it will evolve and be more systematic and streamlined to what we see in resi now.
Yeah. And Alycia, is there any sort of amazing bits of tech that you can share with the group that you're using? Anything different in there?
Nothing different. We're very much Quickly. We're heavy Mercury users and ChatGPT. Yeah, I love playing around with that as well. It's amazing.
No, are you both on Chat 4 or are you using 3.5?
No, 4.
Good.
I think you've got to be constantly playing around with all of these things to see the capabilities to, constantly improve. I think constant improvement is the only way to be, and I think part of that is playing with things that may not work. We've tried so many different, build little systems or processes that just haven't worked. But I think you've got to just keep doing that until something pops up and then suddenly saves you a huge amount of time, with processing. Trial and error is ongoing.
Now, we're sort of getting right on time, ladies and gents. So if you've got questions, can I get you to pop them in the chat box for me now? If that would be great. Well, I'll just ask a couple more to round out the session. But the next 12 months, focus for the next 12 months, what's one thing that's probably keeping you up at night? And maybe what's the other question I'd ask you? If you were brave or braver in the next 12 months, what's one thing that you might want to do? So next 12 months for both of you, what's one thing that's keeping you up at night? Belinda, what do you think's...
It's actually talking to my trail book, my existing clients. So I've actually printed it off, and so I've been going through it manually and highlighting people that I've actually had a conversation with, and I actually want to talk to all of them. So yes, the team will do their touch points with them, but I still want to stay in touch with them. I want to be memorable to them. I want them to know who I am and keep referring to our business. So, because when you are writing a deal for a client, you talk to them all of the time, and then all of a sudden you're not. But you do enjoy that conversational piece with your clients and hearing about their goals and aspirations, and I miss that. So that's my challenge. I want to get through my whole book in the next 12 months. So, because customers are they are the center of everything that we do, and I want to be there for them. So that's my goal. It's not, that I want to grow or develop myself more. I just want to be there for my customers.
And I think the thing with Belinda is always, if you're not talking to your clients, someone else is, right? So it's always a big thing. Alycia, just for you, what's your one big thing the next 12 months? What's keeping you up at night besides the kids?
Yeah, my 5-year-old. Keep me up at night is probably, making sure that we've got the team in a place where I just don't want to miss any opportunities for business. I think there will be, once rates come down, volumes are going to kind of go up again, and there's going to be a lot of rework for clients who for the last 12 months weren't able to do something. And I want to make sure that we've got the capacity with team members to be able to, fill that need, I guess, for clients. So for me, it's like, who do we, upskilling the team members, and which role do we hire next that's going to be the best, and finding the right person so that we're positioned correctly, in the next 12 months.
Yeah, that's nice. Just a couple of questions coming in. Christine was just asking, is it possible to do both home loans and commercial lending in the same business? Is it a real juggle? Does one sort of take focus over the other, Belinda, or do you find that it's a relatively easy to do it to yourself?
It's all about the client. So, they're coming to you for a reason. At the moment, I'm obviously juggling a lot of home loans, but then you've also got business clients that you're working on their files as well. So it's just normal workload. One might be for a commercial purchase, another one might be for a residential one. So, but yes, you can definitely do it. And you can add other things in there, it's okay to do personal loans, and it might be okay to do equipment finance. It's all just serving the need of the client.
And it's a really interesting one about making sure people actually know what you do. We sometimes, I think it's this osmosis. We think that people just know that we do these things, but actually, let's not be kidding ourselves. Both of you said today, if you don't ask, you don't get. If you're not telling people what you do, they won't know. Jager was asking about, with the commercial, how do you find positioning of fees with prospects? And also, how does the dynamic work with accountants where they are looking to control the relationship? So how does that work?
Well, we do charge a fee, but I have quite a process for commercial where I'll actually tender their business to the banks, and then I'll do what we call a pricing document back to the client, but I actually don't release it until our fee's been paid. Yeah. Because we've had instances in the past where they've taken our pricing paper and they've gone direct to the bank. And when that happens once, you go, okay, well, bad luck for us. When it happens twice, that's when you draw a line in the sand and say, well, no more, that's a process we can change. And yes, we have got an accountant at the moment who does try to control that. But I actually had a conversation with them this week, and I said, well, this is not really how we work. With other accountants that we work with, we normally get hey, my customer wants to do X, can you help him? And you go and meet with the client. But I've got one who doesn't really want to work with that. He wants to know it all up front, and it's not really working. We feel like we're doing a lot of work and it's not converting. So, yeah, I don't know that relationship's going to continue, but I think I'd rather spend my time with the ones who value our time and see that, we are benefiting and helping their clients, doing our own processes. So it is hard.
Belinda, I know you charge fee for service because we've been on that journey for a while together, and I love what you do. You've shared your mandate and stuff with our group before. Now, Alycia, are you doing fee for service? We talked a lot about complexity today. You've got your expats. Is that something you do or don't do?
I actually have started doing it, which I was really scared to do. And you told me years ago, just do it. And I just had this real fear of doing it. And then same Belinda said, you get burned a couple of times. You think, well, I can actually change this, and stop this happening to me. More to do with, external people coming and, to refinance and wanting rates, and then just taking those, or just not hearing back from them. So now I just say to them, look, we charge a $250 fee. If you proceed, I'll refund it on settlement. If you don't, at least it covers my cost. And funnily enough, someone came back to me the other day and was like, yes, we want help with the loan structure, etc. And I was like, oh my God, someone's going to pay the fee. Oh, okay. We do charge mandates for if there's a bridging loan with no end debt. And, financial advisors are really good. I got one from a financial advisor who was, it was his client. He's a retiree, and I said, oh, what should I charge as the mandate? And the financial advisor was like, $5,000, charge him $5,000 up front. Like, why are you even thinking about this? And so I did that. And then the other one is, if it's self-managed super fund loans, because usually they're low loan amounts, or the bridging with no debt, or just if it's like a complex loan and you don't think it's a sticky client, I'll just say, look, we just do this up front because it takes us more time and effort. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, nice.
We charge for AIPs, or we just don't do them. They are the biggest waste of time. Like when you've got software like Quickly and you've got confidence in the bank policy, you know where the client fits, there's no red flags, they've got good credit, a bank's going to give them money. So, I've no qualms in saying we don't do pre-approvals. We can do them, but we're going to charge you a fee for it because then our time's covered.
Now, and Christine was just saying, just to be careful, obviously, with your fees, and we've talked about fee for service many a time with you all, always make sure you speak with your aggregator first. Yes, you can definitely charge for resi, you can charge for commercial. Some aggregators do have limits on what you can charge. Some will limit what you can rebate back. You do need to make sure you're compliant. So again, both I know Alycia and Belinda are ridiculously compliant. So please make sure, however, if you are thinking, do speak to your aggregators. Belinda, name of the podcast?
Oh, Commercial Know-How.
Brilliant. There you go. Well done, Lauren. Now, also, just to say, we have a couple more questions coming in. I'm just wary of time, I said, for you all this morning. Nicole was just asking, curious about how much you charge for your pre-approvals.
$550.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good number. That's probably about the sweet spot. Again, if I was looking at that range, $350 to $750, so right in the middle, so lovely. Jago was asking, do you find charging fees to existing clients an issue when they come back for new scenarios or possible business opportunities, etc.? Do you charge existing clients fees, or is it only really new fees?
Yeah, great question. No, not for existing. So initially, yes, because you're doing hours and hours of work writing that background on the paper, but for the next transaction, no, because you can pretty much copy and paste it.
Yeah, nice. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, we are right on time. In fact, we're a few minutes over. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate Belinda Gibson from TMFG this morning, Alycia Inglis from Stoneturn, two of my favourite people in our industry, just two of my favourite people all round. Please do yourselves a favour, do follow them on their socials, do check out their businesses. Again, if you're looking for businesses that are future-proofing themselves through, again, from my view of the world, absolute experts in their field, people that give me absolute confidence that if I knew I was referring someone to them, they are getting the best of the best. So, Alycia and Belinda, thank you. If everyone can just come off mute and give them a big shout out and a big thank you, that would be great.
Thanks for listening to the Commercial Know-How podcast. Don't forget to visit commercialknowhow.com.au where you can get in touch with me or download my free ebook to help you get started in the commercial lending space. If you enjoy the show, please hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. See you soon.